Hi, everybody. Welcome to Progressive Voice. We are an independent news and media outlet for Nevadans and for progressives by progressives with a focus on local Nevada news with an eye towards the national conversation happening today. We are here to be the change we want to see in the news media and to present sane and thoughtful information for the community. So I'm here today on Veterans Day, November 11th, with Rodney Smith and with Brian James. And we are here to talk about issues that are going on in Nevada. We're here blessed with Mr. Rodney Smith's presence. He ran for Congress and in CD4 in Nevada, and recently in the 2018 election and also in the past. And so we're very excited to have you on the show today and to hear your ideas about what's going on in Nevada, given your vast experience in the political landscape, and also given your background as a veteran. And Brian is a member of the progressive community in Nevada. He's a guest here today also to provide his insights and commentary. So to start off, Rodney, I would like to ask you to first introduce yourself just a little bit, give us some of your background for people who are watching this who have not heard of you before.
Well, as mentioned, my name is Rodney Smith. I've been in Vegas off and on for about the last 32 years. Originally was stationed here through the military. I had multiple assignments here, worked at the Nevada Test and Training Range for a number of years, which is partly why I've been here so long. And every time I would leave, the military would send me back. So when it came time to consider where do I want to retire and settle down at, I thought there was a lot of opportunity here in the Las Vegas area and really in Nevada in general. So I decided to settle down here, and whatever mark that I would make on society would be made here.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So, and today being Veterans Day and knowing that you served, I would like you to just give a brief explanation of what Veterans Day means to you and what you think people should be thinking about or understanding about Veterans Day and what that means.
It's interesting that Veterans Day comes shortly after Election Day. And I did have some time to reflect on that. And I've been in countries where I've been there to help people get the right to vote. And when you see the look on those people's faces as the time for them to vote comes up, it's almost like how things should be. And it makes me feel worthy to wear the uniform, because I'm trying to help other people enjoy something that should be the norm here. But unfortunately, we typically have more people here who don't vote than who do vote. And so I reflect back on that. And today, being that it's Veterans Day, I think how much different our elections would be if more people in America who've had the right to vote for a number of years felt the same excitement and enthusiasm about it as people overseas who have never had the opportunity to vote.
Wow.
So I reflect on that, and I reflect on the freedom of movement that Americans have to go out and vote. It's not something that you necessarily have to plan. You just go do it, and you can do it unencumbered. That's just not the way it is in most places in the world. And to be honest, in my lifetime, it wasn't always the way it was here in America, but it is that way today. And so I would like to see more people enjoy that privilege that we have here that other people dream about, really.
Wow. That's fascinating, because we almost take for granted that we can vote, and when people are disenchanted with politics, they say, "Oh, I'm not going to vote anyway," but we forget what then it might be like actually if you don't even have that power. So just to be able to exercise something like that's this can be really powerful.
You know, Owen, I think that sometimes we forget that in this country, it was designed for self-rule. Our form of government isn't a form of government where it's the government telling the people. It's supposed to be the people telling the government. And every roughly 2 years for Congress, 4 years for the president, 6 years for senators, we get to determine what type of government that we want. And I think that's a really powerful thing, and it should be a motivating thing. And I know for folks who serve and who've been to places where they haven't had that privilege, when we come home, it motivates us. And it also motivates us to want to serve because we know that we enjoy the rights and privileges that most of the world don't.
And that's really thanks to veterans like you. You know, without people fighting for our freedoms, you know, we wouldn't be able to vote. You know, it's really, you know, I thank you for that, making that sacrifice.
Well, oftentimes what people say about veterans is they thank us for our service. And that's nice because I also grew up in the Vietnam era and that wasn't the norm. But I like to tell people back that when you have a country that is supposed to be what America is supposed to be, it makes it easier to go to some of those places that we have to go to and serve because we are the 1% that we know that the other 99% is counting on.
Yeah.
And we go there with a purpose and we know that you all have our backs too. And that makes a big difference. And when folks who are injured in war come back home, to know that you're going to come back home to a country and to people who will embrace you and not shun you, and who will make sure that you have all of the things that you need to get back as whole as you can be, you know, that's a very powerful thing too.
And could you tell us quickly which parts of the U.S. military you served in and which eras of time period and or wars you may have served in?
Well, I enlisted in 1981. I was going to retire. Unfortunately, for me at the time, my unit I just came from a short tour overseas, and I came to a unit that was getting ready to deploy to the combat theater. So I just come home from being away for 12 months, and within about 4 months, I had to prepare to deploy again, but it was at the end of my time and I was actually going to retire. But because they needed my particular profession, my skill set, I was voluntold that I would not be able to retire and that my time was extended. And then when my time got extended, there was a large blast that unfortunately I happened to be a part of. And so then that led me to coming up to the next time frame when I could retire. And I did retire, but because of the need for my particular skill set, after retiring, I actually got called back to active duty. And once that happened, I figured I would just stay as long as they would keep me. And I did it that third time, that third section at Nellis Air Force Base. And Nellis Air Force Base is a great place to be stationed because whatever is going on in the world comes through Nellis, so it gives you a broad sense of what's happening. Plus, it is good to be a part of a community that supports military people and understands the military culture a little bit. So that made it a lot easier too.
And could you tell us, aside from running for office, what other groups or organizations or activities you participate in here in the Las Vegas community?
Education is hugely important to me. We often talk about our children being our future, but yet we're 51st in education in the nation and we're the 5th largest school district. So I've been involved in education heavily from the Superintendent's Dropout Prevention Committee to I've actually been a curriculum commissioner and I've established the first community education advisory board between the Clark County School District and Nellis Air Force Base, which was really a big benefit to both entities. I also just like to work in the community. I prefer to work with youth, but at my age now, most people are considered youth. So I enjoy spending time with people because one of the things that you learn in the service is that as you teach other people, you're also being taught. And so as I'm out there in the community, I'm learning what's going on. I'm getting a feel for the people, what their needs are. And that's actually one of the reasons why I decided to run for office in the first place.
So that was going to be my next question is, not a lot of people run for office, and not a lot of people even vote and participate in our government. We were talking about that earlier. Could you tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to run for office, what that experience was like in the various times that you did, and what are some of the major takeaways from that, and what was maybe your vision for the things that you would want to change or to do in an elected position, or just in that entire political arena in general? What could you tell us more about that?
Well, first of all, the district that I'm in is the newest district, and it's literally swung back and forth up until recently from one party to the next. And Nevada historically has been a purple state. And I thought that the district that I was in was a great example of how it's a purple state, because it keeps switching back and forth between a Democrat and a Republican. It's almost as if the people were not satisfied with either, but you only have a choice between the two. And I thought that that was really no choice. If you put a rat in a box and it can only make left turns, or if it can only make right turns, is it really a choice? So I thought that the people deserved someone who saw the country not as left or right, not as Democrat or Republican, but just saw the country as people, as America. That saw Nevada and the people of Nevada as Nevadans versus red or blue. And when you serve in the military, it doesn't make a difference who's in office, because when we take that oath to protect and defend the Constitution, and it is an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, because that's what makes it the United States. When you take that oath, there's no expiration date on it. And it says for enemies both foreign and domestic. And I thought that my time in uniform has finally, I'm pretty confident they're not going to call me back again, but I felt that we needed more people serving in government that was really serving the people and all the people, not just those on a side. Because when I wear the uniform, I'm serving all Americans. Coming home, I wanted to serve all Americans. And I thought that that would help dissipate some of the tribalism that has developed, that is almost at dangerous levels now. I hear the rhetoric where people refer to other Americans as the enemy. I know what the enemy is. I've seen the enemy. As a matter of fact, I carry memories of the enemy with me every time I take a step. We're not each other's enemies. And I thought that historically we know that Congress works better the more veterans that are in it. And we believe that one of the reasons why that is we get a mission and we go accomplish that mission for you all. Well, I think that Congress and politics in general should be that. We're working for the people. They gave us a mission, and we need to go out there and accomplish that mission. And at the time, there was no one else running that was in the military. I have that military background. There was no one else who really rose up through the community, and I had that too. So I thought that this would be a great time to help change the way that the constituents see politicians, and maybe that would bring more people into the process.
What were some of the challenges that maybe stopped you from getting further than you were originally wanting to?
Well, one of the things about running is that whatever you learned in school or you thought you knew, once you run, you get a whole new perspective on how this process works. And so the first time I ran as a Democrat, because, it's just that most African Americans are like Democrat through birth. That's just how it is. And so it's not a choice. I was a Democrat. But I have to admit, I wasn't feeling comfortable just being a Democrat, because I didn't see the Democrats really representing the needs of the people. So when I ran the first time, I ran as a Democrat, and then I ran this last time as a nonpartisan. Running as a Democrat, I found that if you're not the preferred candidate of the party, you really get no love from the party. And to a certain extent, there's, you're a little ostracized. And so I says, well, if the party is not there for me, even though historically my particular demographic has been the backbone of the party, then why should I be there for the party, especially if it's not giving back to what we're putting into it? So I decided that really my loyalties lied with nonpartisans, no particular party affiliation, because that's how it was when I wore the country's uniform. And that's when I talk to people, that's how I interact with people, as just people. And I found that as we were doing this, more people were saying that's what they wanted. So if people want that, isn't it the job of the elected official or the candidate for elected office to give the people what they want? And that's to talk to them like they're people and definitely not like they're the enemy. So, but the biggest hurdle is that in party politics, it is just that, party politics. Mm-hmm. And if you're not the favorite in that, in the party, then you get very little support from the party. I became a nonpartisan, I ran, and that was like freedom to me. It was like the chains, the shackles fell off. Mm. And it also gave me a chance to look at the party from the outside, where I'd been looking at it all this time from the inside.
Right.
And I saw some things that I didn't really like. As a matter of fact, I saw so many similarities to the Republican Party. And I saw so many things that we were told wasn't there, that was there, that I'm glad that I became a nonpartisan. Mm. I met a lot of nonpartisans. Both parties are losing about 0.75% of their constituents every month.
Wow.
Every month. And nonpartisans are growing by about 1.3 to 1.4% every month. Now, most people think that that's younger people coming into the process, but in talking to the Secretary of State's office, I found out that it's actually young people for sure, but it's also a lot of people who have just become disenchanted with the way that the parties have become so divisive now. And they're looking for something where it can just be the issues. And so that the not being the favorite, being an outlier is definitely a hurdle, and not having access to those money streams that a party structure has, those are definitely big hurdles to get over.
Wow, thank you. That's fascinating. Hey everybody, thank you for watching Progressive Voice, an independent news and information outlet created by progressives for everyone here in Las Vegas, Nevada. I want to thank again Rodney Smith and Brian James for joining us here in the studio, and we hope to see you next time. If you watch this video or any of our other videos and you want to see content like this, please comment, please share this video down below, please tell your friends. If you have ideas for people or topics you want us to cover, please say so in the comments. Again, we are excited to try to be the change we want to see in the media. There is a dire lack of independent voices, and particularly news and information from a progressive perspective serving everyone. So thank you again, and we hope to see you next time.